Here's a gentle rundown on our eye jar here. Today we're going to use some Feel of clay, and it doesn't matter what color it is because you're just going to paint over it anyways. And I'm using a large wide mouth jar. This just so happens to be a spaghetti jar, and I got the lid over here. And you wash it off and take off the label. You're going to need some large pins to support the eyeballs during drying process. And after, you're going to need some colors. Now I'm using here a cerulean blue number 31, a light green number 10, a blue gray 37, a burnt umber 624, and a white 600, all acrylic. One more detail. To create the eye, you're going to need one of these, which has two purposes. One, to make the pupil in the center, and also the rim here to make the iris of the eye. I have two types of Feel It Air clay here today, and let's see what color this is. Red, of course. Now, if you're going to create an eyeball, have you ever made meatballs before? Sure, we all have. We want an eyeball that is the correct size of an eyeball. So, roughly, approximately about that size we want to create. Now, if you're using any other clay other than white, you need to paint them after drying. However, if you're going to use white Feel It clay like I have done here, you can bypass step 1 and 2. Once you have created the eyeball here, you want now to let it dry. Now there's going to be a very kind of a little bit of a dented area over here, but that's okay. You want the outside to be completely hardened, and then you can turn this over and dry it on the bottom. Now, once we create the eyeball, we're going to use our pen cap cover over here to make an indentation in there, and as you can see there, here is another circle. That's going to be the iris, and you're going to let that dry. We're going to do this also to the white over here, nice and smooth. Boom. We want to create a whole plethora of these and make a small arsenal of eyeballs. So let's do that now. All of these eyeballs were dried yesterday. You can see they become like little soft ping pong balls. Now you can see also the ridge of the iris is in there. Now once these are dry, you're going to need some pins. Now once you get your eyeballs all set up, you're going to get some pins, and we're going to make a small tripod out of our ball of clay here. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just sticking 3 of them in there to create a supporter. This support system, you can very easily paint now the eyeball with the white paint. Now, if you're using a white clay, you can bypass this completely and then move on to the next step. Once your eyeball is completely painted and dried, it's going to look something like this. And you can still see there's a little bit of work to be done here. You can always touch that up, but we're going to focus on the iris of the eyeball. Choosing what color you want to paint the iris is very important. I have blue eyes over here and green eyes, and then we have some people have the smoky gray eye, and I'm also using a burnt umber 624, which can be put with white to make more of a hazel color. Your choice of iris color is yours. Okay, so today I'm going to be using the cerulean blue 31 and using a soft brush and just very, very easily going in here now into the eye. You can make this as dark or as light as you want it to, because we're going to be adding a lot of detailing to this. If you run any type of acrylic paint under a hairdryer, it dries instantly, and that's exactly what I did. Our next step we're going to be doing is using our permanent magic marker here to create a pupil, and we just want to create a pupil that is right about there. You can make the pupil any size you want. Just remember, the larger the size of the pupil, the more relaxed it looks, but we want this one kind of stressed out. Just for freakiness sake, this is what they look like when they're all lined up. I see you. Once you get all your eyeballs painted and your pupils set in, now's the time to add coloring to the irises. Today I'm just using some touch markers, and it depends on what kind of lines you want to put in your irises, but I'm going to be using the Sharpie part of a touch marker, and I'm going to add some extra color to each one of my eyes. Depends on which style you like and how you want your eyes to look, but this is going to add a whole new dimension to your eyes. And I'm even going to go around the outside of each iris and highlight that in the same color. You can see how these are coming to life. The more information you add, the more better they're going to be. Once you have all your irises in place, now let's add some red veins to the back. Today I'm using a red touch marker, and I'm going to draw some veins on the back of the eyeballs. So I'm going to demonstrate how to make some red lines. These ones already got red coming through, which is not bad. I'll use another one so it looks more better. You're just going to take your red marker and you're going to draw some Y-shaped lines. These are going to look like, use a sharp marker so it actually creates the very fine veins that you want to create. That makes the eye look so much more realistic. What I did was I also painted the back of the eyeballs using our red paint over here, and making sure that you, as a prop maker, you want to do the best job you can. So this adds another element of spookiness. Now, once you have all your eyeballs completed and you got your nice clean jar, we're going to start putting them in. The second half here, you're going to need your glue gun, which is now heating up, and I would highly recommend getting yourself a pair of long tongs. We're actually going to take the eyeballs one by one, put a little bit of hot glue on there, and start placing them in the jar. Now, one of the reasons why we want to use the hot glue method to put them in there, yeah, you could just put them in there. However, they will be moved around, and what we want to do for our display is we want to hold them in place where we want to put them. A little bit of hot glue on there and just touch it, and it will be stacked up very nicely. So let's see how these are going to be when I stack them up. Using a brown one here, a little bit of glue, very easy. It really helps to put them in there in the right appropriate place where you want them to be. Whew. Talk about an awesome looking vessel. They're all stacked up quite nicely. Very, very, very creepy. And you have the eyeballs in the directions that you want them to go. Okay, let's move on to the aging process. Okay, now to create the lid of our jar, what you're going to need is the lid, and I'm using today just 2 pieces of paper towel, and I'm going to be putting the lid on our jar and then using the 2 pieces of paper towel over the top like this. And now we're going to tie it down. Here I'm using 2 pieces of tie back from an old mask. I'm going to be tying them together. Kind of gives it that antique used look style. I want everything to look kind of horror creepy. Put that right over there like this, and let's tie it around. There. Now, once you got the top looking like this, cut off the excess. Now let's age this. Once you got your paper towel on here and your string attached using a nice brush, you're going to put some brown umber number 624 over here. We're going to make a slurry, as we always do for the aging process. And we're going to apply this on to our top of our paper towel. Now I'm just using recycled paper towel over here. If you're using white paper towel, it'll be just equally as nice. Just make sure you put enough of your aging material on here. Once you get this nice and wet and it fuses to the jar, guess what else we're going to do today? We're going to use a black number 999, and we're going to actually age the jar all at one time. This is coming out so cool. And then we're going to let it all dry. It's like it came from the Mutter Museum, Philadelphia. Okay, so let's now put a wash over the glass. This is the part where it kind of gets kind of messy. Now I'm using a bit of acrylic 999 black shield over here, and I'm mixing up another slurry like this, and we are going to start painting the glass. This is going to age the glass quite considerably. And I would also highly recommend layering it on there. Don't worry about the drips, everything, just leave it on there, get as messy as you can. And then going in with the black also and touching. Look at that, I got a thread in there, that's great. More dirtier everything is, the better. Let this drip down, dirty the glass, and let it dry. I'm actually going to go and touch the edges of our fabric here, just the edges of all of our coating, the top part here. So when this dries, it's going to be two-tone. Okay, dirty that up. Let that dry. There it is. Pleasant screams.